Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest on our stream, military expert, geopolitical analyst, and writer, Andrei Martyanov. Thank you very much, Andrei, for participating in our program. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Um, I know we are short in time, and there is too many questions and topics to unpack. In your opinion, how you will what will be your assessment of the current situation on zone of special military operation, and how you will assess situation for both parties in this military conflict, Ukrainian side, Russian side? Just general observation and then more precise questions.
Well, I mean, it's kind of clear when you look at the situation in Ukraine, and there's plenty of evidence testifying to the fact that basically they ran out of the personnel. So they're going to be collecting the rest of the cannon fodder, which they're trying to do. The wonderful video, wonderful quote unquote, of them basically assaulting their sanitarium resort, collecting old people, maybe some of their wives too, so naked people just running along the corridors because they are caught and thrown into the vans and then shipped to die in the trenches. So the fall of Mariinka is a major blow to them. So, and it's all primarily PR, and what can I say? It's done. I mean, again, the army, the whatever is called armed forces of Ukraine, are a broken force completely. And the question is, as I already stated, it's Russia deciding on its higher strategic, and I'm talking about state strategic level. It shouldn't be mistaken for military strategic level, albeit they are connected, obviously. But they're on the level of strategy of the Russian state, what to do next, because practically Russia can break through any operational direction, so and then go far. Odessa next with Nikolaev, possible. Kharkov, I don't think so for now, but who knows? Again, I'm not privy to this information, so and Kremlin doesn't call me. Sadly. But yeah, the war militarily is pretty much over. It's just a matter of how many more people on the Ukrainian side, I mean, will be killed. I'm talking about the armed forces of Ukraine. That's pretty much it.
Exactly on this topic, Zelensky, president of Ukraine, just a few days ago, made an announcement that some additional 400 or 50,000 or 500,000 additional reservists gonna be mobilized. And defense minister of Ukraine did said that many of them should be from Europe, and now they are working on draft bill to basically introduce some sanctions against refugees in Europe, to force them somehow to go back to Ukraine and then participate in this operation on behalf of a regime. Do you think they will succeed in forcing, let's say, European states to one way or another deport these refugees, or what their plan is? Because it's not going to be easy to somehow force refugees in Europe to change their mind and return to Ukraine now. Do they have
it all depends on how those refugees, so to speak, will get on the nerves of already psychotic European population. So I understand there is an issue now in Poland. Ukrainians killed the chief coach of one of the Polish football league club. So, and you already can sense basically that Poles had enough of that. And these are people who do not like Russians, believe me. So, and when you look at this, Estonia might get them, I don't know, 25 people, something like that. But it's all about how Germany, low countries, Belgium, Benelux, and Italy react to this. And you know what? It's their problems. It doesn't matter. It's cannon fodder. And without the equipment, and with Ukraine's military industrial base, whatever was left of it, completely destroyed now, they literally cannot produce anything like tanks or BMPs or what have you. So, I mean, it makes no difference. It just makes more meat attacks and more corpses on the Ukrainian side.
Yes, it will just prolong this conflict.
Yeah, meat attacks, meat storms, yeah, and horrendous. I mean, it's just horrendous.
Just a few days ago, Russian defense minister, while speaking to high command of Russian military forces, did said that Russian armed forces did achieve their main task, their main goal in 2023, which was to defeat this highly anticipated in the West counteroffensive, and they did obviously. And what is interesting, what I find fascinating, that just recently Western media outlets did wrote that this counteroffensive plan was written or worked upon by high-ranking U.S. and British generals. And when I was thinking on this topic, it seemed to me like Russian general staff did outplay Western. They don't have general staff precisely, but whatever they have there. And what is your take? Am I wrong? Did the Russian general staff really outplay them, or what happened? Why they failed so much so with this counteroffensive?
I wrote 3 books on that. United States doesn't know what real war is. It simply doesn't. They basically, practically, they took all lessons from defeated Wehrmacht. So these were the German Wehrmacht and Nazi officers who wrote much of the field manuals and operational manuals for the U.S. Army. I don't know why I spoke about this a week ago, specifically making video on that issue. And then, of course, you have the guys who lost all their wars, and then they suddenly beat their 5-year-old kid in the sandbox, which was Iraqi army, after half a year of unimpeded pre-deployment of forces. So when you learn like this, I mean, what do you expect? And they absolutely rewrote the history of the World War II. They just confabulated it in favor of the US Army. And so, yeah, the result of the full decline of the American education as a whole. And let me put it this way. You will not find a Russian or Soviet officer who had a degree in literature. You can find American admirals who have majored in English literature. So it's pretty much it. And as my friend, Colonel of the Central Apparatus of Ministry of Defense, likes to say, Vladimir Trukhan, Colonel Vladimir Trukhan, is the guy who participated pretty much on the serious operational level tasks in Moscow. So they cannot outthink us. They can't. They simply don't have qualifications. And I know what they teach is, well, it's useless, absolutely. And we already heard Mr. Kavoli, Supreme Commander of the NATO forces in Europe, in January this year, when he was basically stating openly to the Swedish Defense Forum, scale, scale, scale. We never saw anything like this. And these guys thought that they were cool kids beating the garbage out of, Saddam's third-rate army. But hey, here's the real war. And as was predicted, again, I wrote 3 books on
that. Recent days, after a statement from Prime Minister of Netherlands, it became obvious that at least Netherlands already began sending its F-16 fighter jets, US-made F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Maybe some of them already are in Ukraine, delivered in parts and then reassembled, as several Russian Telegram channels, for example, reported. No one knows yet. Official statements have not been made in Moscow or in Ukraine.
Actually, they have been made by, what's his name, the Minister of Defense, this funny-looking guy. Umarov, yeah, he said, I believe him or his deputy stated that we're not going to get them until second quarter. Maybe they got some already, but it makes no difference.
Yes, I did saw that report, and that's why I was kind of skeptical of this information from different channels here in Russia. But whatever the case, what is your assessment? Can F-16s, even if they are deployed in like 20, 40, 50, 100 of them, even can they be game changer or turn the tide if you take into account these integrated air defense systems of Russia that are deployed on the line of contact, or Russian fighter jets, 4th plus generation or 5th generation fighter jets like Su-30, 4th generation, Su-35, or Su-57, and even MiG-31, Soviet era long-range interceptor, is quite capable to on beyond range air-to-air combat, for example. And what is your take? Why so much hype in the Western media or around political circles on these F-16s? I mean, what they're going to change with it?
Well, the hype is, as you already saw yourself, they are like those rams attacking the gates, basically they do not learn, and the reason there's hype because that's the only trick they know. The whole Western establishment, especially establishment in Washington D.C., which is run by neocons, they are utterly incompetent people. They are incompetent pretty much across the whole spectrum of the statesmanship, be that military, political, economic, what have you. So yeah, the only thing they can do is, because that's the only thing they know, is PR. Those F-16 change absolutely nothing. And again, as you correctly stated, first, most of the flying MiG-31s today, they are all updated to the MiG-31BM. And MiG-31BM, it's same airframe, but a completely new avionics. It is a full glass cockpits, both of them, for the weapons operator, and of course the pilot. So they carry the same horrifying R-37 with the range of almost 400 kilometers. So basically they can intercept it without even entering the zone of any kind of detection by the F-16. So yeah, I mean, maybe they will get lucky, with one of F-16, but basically they need to know only and learn how to take off, because usually they will not need to, learn how to land. And in this particular case, Russia has more than enough resources, if need be, to basically deal with this situation. So I don't expect any kind of game changing, because today, Mr. Chemezov, the big honcho of Rostec, this colossal giant, corporation, which is responsible pretty much for the most weapon systems, he went on record today that basically all this technological advantage of the West is a myth. I've been on that for 10 years when I was trying to explain to people that basically what we see, we have weapons which are designed to be sold. They are really not designed to be effective. And we already saw ourselves a dismal performance. And of course, now they cannot really find any kind of excuses, because as I don't remember who said a couple of days ago, one of the commanders in the field on the battle lines from Russia, he said, it doesn't matter, Leopard, Abrams, Kornet. I repeat it, nobody gets away from Kornet. It doesn't matter what kind of armor you have, so it just gonna kill you. That's it. And that's has been proven across the whole spectrum of the military technology. And of course, again, no NATO pilot, no US Air Force pilot ever saw anything like this in their lives in terms of the air combat. And now they have a sour grapes in terms of that. Russians aggregated an enormous beyond visual range kill numbers. Just stunning, especially when you look at the, again, R-77 and R-37. And now you have the situation with the collective engagement capability, cooperative engagement capability of the network, basically, between the A-50, S-400, and other aircraft in the air. So there you go. That's your net-centric warfare. So in full-blown display,
To stay on Ukrainian topic, additional question. President of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, during his conversation with the leadership of Russian military several days ago, did said very interesting statements, very interesting phrases. He said that in Poland, they are dreaming about regaining control over their western regions. We all know that significant part of western Ukraine, like 80% maybe, used to be part of Poland before Second World War. And Putin did said that, well, we will not mind if they will, work with their dreams, but we don't give up ours. And I truly wonder, since that statement, what he meant. He meant from Kharkov region to Odessa region, or he meant Kiev also, because after all, Kiev, for a reason called in Russia here, mother of all Russian cities. So what is your take? I mean, how this conflict, not just how it will end, but what will remain after from Ukraine, if anything, as a state on the political map? How you see this?
Oh gosh, I hate forecasts because first, we have to keep in mind that Vladimir Vladimirovich is a troll of the 80th level. He can do things which you probably remember how he basically exposed Megyn Kelly as a complete, illiterate bimbo, and then his jokes with Macron. I mean, but I think so. There is a certain, how to put it, vector in his statement. My take on this, again, I'm nobody. Kremlin doesn't call me and report to me. But I think so that eventually, obviously, Odessa and Nikolaev will be the part of it. Whatever the romp may remain from Ukraine will be denied, obviously, both access to the sea and the armed forces. And of course, it's going to be basically Moscow's protectorate until new generation of people grown up that they will be ready to rejoin Russia. So that's what I expect for now. And that is why there's so much hysteria, basically, both, well, in Ukraine, it's understandable, but also in the panic in Washington. So because they understand that it's not going to be negotiation. It's not going to be freezing of the conflict. The BS which New York Times spreads, that's the only thing they do. As I already told you, most of them are just BS peddlers. So, and who knows? So that's probably how it's going to work out, I think. But who knows, again. We don't know the full background of that. And after Ryabkov stated that, well, basically he stated it openly, we're ready to break off diplomatic relations with the United States. It won't matter what the United States wants, not to speak of the fact that it's has been shown its proper place right now, and the process, so to speak, of adjusting the United States to the realities of the world will continue.
To return to topic of modern weapons, you just mentioned a few minutes ago that this agenda in the West, popular agenda in the West, that West is technologically advanced over Russia. I disagree with this, and I have a reason for it, because I want to ask you your opinion about this latest developments in Russian military-industrial complex, for example. When informations are somewhat available in open source about Poseidon nuclear torpedo, which on paper, at least what we see in open source, should be something devastating and unparalleled for now. Also, hypersonic missiles Zircon, hypersonic missiles Kinzhal that are become famous, world famous at this point. Also, Burevestnik, Sarmat strategic missile system just recently enter service, if I'm not mistaken. So if you can to explain to us, because we are not militarists, and even though I read as much as I can on these topics, I find it sometimes difficult to understand how these systems are operating and why they are pretty much advanced than anything else we see before in the world. And from where this attitude of Western militaries or media even, or politicians come, that they are superior and their weapon systems are superior than Russian ones? Why do you think so?
Well, because they are used to be shining city on the hill, and they convince themselves, they're basically propaganda, all of it. There were some certain technological developments, especially in radio electronics, where West always was leading Soviet Union and to a certain degree Russia, until we hit basically the topology of the processors, which are used in the modern military, it varies between 360 to 90 nanometers topology for processing power, and Russia produces all of them, and she actually is ready to launch its own lithography production. By the way, here it is. Who would have known, right? So, and then of course, yeah, they convince themselves that, and there's always this exceptionalist attitude, still is, and then of course, which was amplified many times over by neocons, who are basically messianic death cult. And when you look at this, they have this. I don't know why they go at it still, because in terms of the hypersonic weapons, you can go back, go today to the Sputnik Globe, I believe. They made a wonderful interview. They took 5 actual Russian real experts. I'm talking about people like Alexei Lyankov, and people who are actually, cadre military, and 5 American cadre military people, including all the, high-level office level of the advisors of the Office of the Secretary of Defense, for example, like Mr. Maloof. And they, like in unison, Russian experts, 5 Russian experts, 5 American experts, including wonderful Christine Kvitkovsky, who makes an honor to U.S. Army colonel. So they've been talking, and if you listen, like unison, Kinjal and hypersonics, that's it. That changes the whole thing. And the point is, when you look essentially at also the lack of the serious air defense on the part of NATO, they will not be able to intercept the serious salvo of the subsonic missiles, such as a 3M14 or 3M14M caliber. They will know that they come pretty much under some circumstances, granted that in the real war, Russia doesn't shut down, which she will, satellite constellation, disable satellite constellation, and pretty much all intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance complex. But they have no defense. Even Maloof says there's no defense against Kinjal. Nothing can intercept it. The same goes for Zircon, but Zircon, obviously, unlike Kinjal, it's not aeroballistic missile. It flies constantly on its own power until it reaches target. It basically flies at it has several profiles, obviously. It can fly, obviously, a very low trajectory, but in this case, obviously, because of the immense temperatures and immense pressures which are developed on the front of the missile, they probably have a much shorter range. But if it flies this classic trajectory, high, low, it flies 1,500 kilometers plus. We now heard about the new iteration of Zircon coming out. Now it's like Mach 13 plus, and attacks almost vertically down. Good luck intercepting this. There's nothing in the NATO arsenal which is even close to intercepting it. So, and when you look at this, yeah, sure, they never. Well, you go and read the parameters, which is one of the last more or less competent publications. It is published by the U.S. Army War College, Parameters magazine. And they're talking about the situation that, yeah, we can do nothing. The only thing we can do is to put every kind of the command and control, basically, formations and units on the mobile platforms. Because once you are static, Kinjal will find it, not to mention the fact that Kinjal can actually find it even if you are moving. So it is developed now with the capability of hitting the moving target. So yeah, good luck. It is one thing when you know that Saddam's army, maybe they will, launch a couple of Scots and one might, leak through, as it did, and killing something like 200, U.S. personnel. But I mean, what are you gonna do when doesn't matter where you on what depth you locate your command and control? You can come, on a tactical level, like division, operational tactical level. You place your command control, basically points into 20, 25 kilometers depth, or you can put the army into the 200-kilometer depth. Doesn't matter. I mean, doesn't matter. You have the standoff weapons with ranges in thousands of kilometers. So it doesn't matter if you start the war with Russia, Brussels, and NATO headquarters are gone in the next 20 minutes. Conventionally, not nuclear, just conventionally. So good luck with that. That pretty much explains to you. And whatever they launch, the NATO air defense is not even in the same universe as I actually listened to Gerasimov about the performance of the air defense. Is just good God.
I don't think Patreon can come close to. I
Oh,
may
no,
not be. They cannot come close to S400 or now it's
no.
S500 in service. So, and exactly on this point, sometimes I do think that maybe I have a question. Do leadership, top leadership, military leadership in the major Western countries, US, UK, do they understand that they don't have this first strike capabilities, or I don't know what they're thinking of their capabilities, but why they are constantly escalating with Russia? Do they afraid that? Do they have this sense that Russia is not a banana republic? Russia may strike back and very painfully, and this so-called war era mutual destruction is still in the place. And maybe if anyone has first strike capabilities, it's Russia with
Well,
these hypersonic weapons. Do they analyze this situation, or they just purely politicians and are driven by ideology and not really realizing real situation on the ground? I mean, what's going on really? Why they are not afraid that they may provoke a real conflict between superpowers, nuclear superpowers?
all political top of the West is a banana republic political top. These are ignorant, uncultured, and illiterate people. And you cannot communicate with any modern American politician because that's how bad it is. Most of them are ignorant people. And so the same goes for American or NATO militaries. I gonna be making video today after that about some Polish general. It's hilarious when you listen what they say. Mr. Petraeus wouldn't be allowed to command actually a regiment in Russian army. He wouldn't know what to do. None of them ever experienced a real war except for shooting Afghanistan weddings. So, and you have this arrogance pumped out by the same ignorant Hollywood, so it's just vicious circle. And now when you look at the complete degeneration of American higher education, I'm not talking about STEM, I'm talking about what usually is perceived as the elite producing machine. Ivy League is a laughing stock. All their programs on political economy or government is jokes. So are the professors, most of them anyway, because they don't know. They don't know the history. They don't understand modern economy. They don't understand anything. And those people who are produced there, they go there, for example, just good old boys and girls. They rub shoulders, make connections, and as the result, when you look at this, look at them. They do believe, some of them, but now they are in panic mode because it begins to dawn on them. Do not forget, those generals, you're correct, their plan for this so-called counteroffensive, it was done in general staff in London, and it was done by Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States. This was written by amateurs, military amateurs. They literally do not understand what combined arms war is. They really don't. They love to use those, all funny terms like multi-domain operations. Hey, they had some good ideas, but the only strategies of any repute the United States ever produced was, of course, Admiral, Alfred Tyre Mahan. But again, even his, brilliant ideas, which were ideas based on the sail ships, they didn't live long. By basically 1950s, the whole idea, what he produced, was gone because the new weapon systems emerged, the mutually assured destruction emerged. But in terms of MAD, especially with Sarmat and avant-garde systems, by the way, Sarmat can carry avant-garde. It can carry up to 10 avant-garde gliding vehicles. So, good luck. Good luck. They cannot stop anything. And that's the whole thing. While Russian anti-ballistic missile and anti-hypersonic, which, by the way, West still doesn't have, defense already, you look at the capabilities of 300 V4. It is full-blown anti-hypersonic missiles, complex, which already proven itself. And then you go at S-500 and you go and all kinds of things, and we don't know what is coming next. And now they begin to kind of,
come back to the sense.
reality.
Yeah.
Come back to reality, yeah. But because they are, how to say, they're pathological liars, they are ambitious people. Many of them are sociopaths. For example, if you look attentively at the whole spectrum of the neocon cabal, which runs the foreign policy in the United States, most of those people are illiterate. They are illiterate in any matter of the serious practical geopolitics. And my fourth book is about this, so it's with the focus with the SMO, which, as Mr. Chemsov stated today, it's all myth. All of it have been blown out of the water, and they sit now in the state of shock. And the only thing they know is to continue to do it, because once they stop, American people, well, they're already beginning to ask questions. But once we have the situation where even U.S. Congress begin to question things,
Yeah.
and then understanding who Biden family clan is, there will be many questions.
I have to ask, there's so many topics to discuss in weapons topics, but I want to use this opportunity, and I want to ask your assessment of situation in the Middle East. I am somewhat surprised that in my, I'm not military expert, but still, and maybe because of it, I'm kind of surprised that IDF is somewhat struggling with the Hamas. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the sense that I get, that it's not easy work for them. Absolutely not, and they are struggling. Top brigades are now withdrawn from Gaza, like Golani Brigade, which is elite as it known. What is your take on situation? And then also additional question: is it realistic that Netanyahu's government, under recommendations, let's say, from the West, may provoke confrontation, full-scale confrontation with Hezbollah, Lebanese Hezbollah, or even Iran, if we take into account that just a few days ago they did assassinate Iranian general in Syria during one of the strikes? What is your take on this? Yes.
My take is pretty much defined by my friend Scott Ritter, who has an immense experience of communicating and working with Mossad and Israeli Defense Force. And I can only go with Scott and what my other very good friend Larry Johnson wrote yesterday about IDF. It is all myth. It is all mythology which has been created in 1973. And again, they were fighting at that time illiterate and basically backward Arab militaries. Things changed since then. And what can I say? No, they are not ready for the combat of this intensity. And that basically, you could already see it in 2006 when they had their very bad experience with Hezbollah at Litani River. And then when those reputation of Merkavas, which, by the way, Chemsov today said that, I mean, they are nowhere near T90 in terms of protection. And, so it's all myth, it's all PR. They love to PR themselves. This is the type of the people, as I already stated, which populate not only Likud party in Israel, but many of those people are neocons. They are Likudniks by definition, and they sit in State Department, in Pentagon. They advise Biden, whatever, however can you advise him. So, and in this particular case, that's they bought their own BS, okay, and then suddenly they face with the stiff resistance by Hamas, what's left. They commit genocide. They commit a wholesale crime against humanity, and this cannot continue. This must stop. But from now on, a reputation of IDF is blown out of the water. It is basically police force designed to fight innocent civilians in the real tactical setup, or let alone operational setup, where it has to fight. They have zero experience of fighting real urban combat. And again, what did they study? What they basically, if you look attentively, the U.S. military and IDF, they have been feeding from each other, with this, ego larger than cathedral, and there you go. Suddenly you have this situation. They are not ready. And those guys, as much as however we view Hamas, they're ready to die, what can I say?
And we have only about 10 minutes left. And I have to touch on topic of presidential elections, of course, in Russia and in US. What is your take on situation in the US? Will Trump be able to participate in these elections? Because some questions are rising. Probably he will. And if Trump will return to White House, what impact it will have? Let's say, on Ukrainian crisis. Let's say this way. And I'm also interested if Trump in White House will somewhat influence or de-escalate situation with Washington and Moscow, or nothing will change. Deep state will continue to do its thing, and it's not really matters who is in White House. Things will stay as it is. Maybe slight changes. What is your take?
Trump is the best Israeli president America ever elected, and he remains so. So the guy will continue to do what he did before. And all the people say that, again, people don't understand who Trump is. He is in it for himself. Anybody who buys his rhetoric, they have to really check their head, because he will throw anybody again who he will bring up as their part of his administration, which will require, basically approval of the Congress. Oh, he will throw them under the bus, and believe me. But obviously, Biden and what Biden administration does to United States, this cannot continue, because the country will simply disintegrate, and it eventually will reach the level of the full-out civil war. I don't think so. It will be really like civil war, not this BS which Hollywood does, because basically those guys who live outside cities, they know how to block cities. And and these are the cities, especially on the eastern board, where all those crazies and not liberal nut jobs reside. But other than that, who knows? Again, Trump will do whatever is necessary to attract voters. What he will do after this, I don't think so he learned anything. He is too old to change his ways. And he is probably, in some sense, the lesser evil of the two, So, and in this particular case, we will go and vote, if he is allowed to run, for him. But I mean, the whole process, the whole system in the United States is completely broken. It's over. It's done. That is why many people still don't understand why it is in history, not just inflection point. We're looking at something totally altogether new in the historic development. United States, I mean, come on. It used to be, in Soviet Union, there was a famous anecdote. Can you tell me what is the shortest anecdote in the world? And everybody, communism. Nowadays, I mean, what is the shortest anecdote of the world? Democracy, So it's just United States a laughing stock of the world. And, so what can I say? They worked hard for it. So, and my God, they succeeded. So,
well, and last question. What do you think about chances that, if there is any, to or how long it will take to somewhat reanimate relationships between Moscow and Washington? Because after all, these are superpowers, nuclear superpowers, and they need to talk one way or another. But superpowers have to talk, especially nuclear ones. And if you see any chances that in next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, things will change in a positive way, or we will enter now full-scale Cold War era, and there will be these two blocks, global South, let's say, or Western world in one side and the rest of the world in other side. Which direction we are heading in
Do
your
not
opinion?
forget, do not forget that the guy who closed all diplomatic facilities of Russia in the United States was Mr. Trump. In fact, he basically was boasting about it nonstop that I'm the most anti-Russian president in the U.S. history, which is true.
Yes,
Which
absolutely.
is true. Even Ronald Reagan had enough brains, and although he was the first US president who truly brought neocons on board, he had less aggression and less insanity than what Trump did. He closed every single Russian consulate in the United States, limited the activities of the Russian diplomats. So, what can I say? No, I think that when Mr. Rybkov, and this is top political level of Russia, his first
Of
deputy
course.
of minister of the foreign affairs, he says that we're ready. Yeah, if need be, if they
Yes.
touch our assets, well, we do not want to do it, but we'll break it off. It's gonna hurt United States more than Russia because, for a simple reason, United States desperately wants to keep at least some hand on the pulse of the weapon developments which are happening in Russia. And the gap is growing actually dramatically, practically across all systems, especially in the electronic warfare, especially in terms of the signal processing, especially let alone hypersonics and things of this nature. So United States is, it's back not just by years, it is back by generations. That's what many people do not understand. United States, of course, can continue if they want to build their aircraft carriers, and hey, whatever, makes no difference whatsoever. But the point is that in order to have meaningful dialogue between United States and Russia, you need to have a new generation of American politicians who will appear, or who are waiting in the wings. Are there any? When you look at people like Marjorie Green, or Matt Gaetz, they seem like reasonable people in many respects, that you can actually have meaningful dialogue between them. But we are not just in the Cold War. By now, United States is hiding because behind the mountains of the corpses of the armed forces of Ukraine personnel. It is afraid, to start anything. For now, the only contacts which Russia and the United States has, it's from the words of none other than Mr. Narishkin and Mr. Rybkov himself. Are they on the level of some military missions, including, for example, like the confliction line in Syria?
Yeah, yes.
And of course, it's between CIA and SVR, because there are some sensible people left in CIA. I don't think so they are on the top of CIA, but there are at least, the same as in Pentagon, some operational level people, not strategic, who understand what is happening, and they feel the need to maintain some kind of the contact. But if their diplomatic relationships are broken off by Russia, if the United States goes and commits suicide, so Kremlin and Russia, let me put it this way, I'm not gonna kind of beat around the bushes here. Russian strategic intelligence and strategic forecasting orders of magnitude better than that of the United States. So they know the trends in US politics, they know the economic and political trends in general. So if Russia breaks off their relations, she only is probably seeing the United States either disintegrating or completely imploding, with the implosion of what is already happening non-stop and only accelerates de-dollarization. Remove dollar, it's over. It's over. United States becomes the regional, however important power with the nuclear weapons, but it's going to be regional power.
Yes. I wanted to ask you your take on this confrontation, I will say, between West, collective West, and the rest of the world, basically BRICS, the global South, we can call it however we like, but it definitely forms, isn't it, like two blocks now. One side is a collective West,
Yeah,
G7, EU, and other side is rest of the world. And
yeah, the difference is, West today represents, again, as I stated, I write about this so long now, for many years. Russian economy alone dwarfs the economy of Germany, it certainly makes the economy of France or United Kingdom look like midgets. So, and many people still cannot grasp this idea. And when I talk about what really matters, not some BS about Apple stock or capitalization of Facebook, which are nothing. I mean, it's just absolutely virtual money, virtual economy, which produces nothing. And when I talk about it, many people begin to think, what the heck? Do you know that Russia outproduces United States and by a large margin in steel and iron? Many people don't understand. That is why Russia can, as today was stated by, again, Mr. Shoigu himself and Mr. Chemezov also sounded it, that Russia increased their production of, for example, artillery shells 20-fold. It is now 20 million a year. Yeah. The whole combined West is not going to break 1 million.
Not even close.
It's not going to break 500,000. And they look at this, and again, in terms of tanks, aircraft, and all, they woke up the giant. And I was warning for years, guys, don't do that. It's going to end up bad. I have my vested interest. I live in the United States. I'm not interested in the United States turning what is becoming the Skid Row anyway. You know, yes. Yeah, this country is going to hell in a basket, basically. And so there you go. But hey, they did it. They did it. What can I say?
Well, thank you very much, Andrei, for this great interview, great conversation. Grateful for this, and hopefully sometime in the future you will find time to participate in our stream once again. Thank you to our community for attention also, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.